Imagine a ragged bunch of farmers, barely trained and definitely outgunned. Down the might of the British Empire. They were outnumbered, yet somehow, against all odds, they pulled off a win. Pretty incredible, right? Now, fast forward 2.5 centuries, those same scrappy rebels are now commanding satellites that can see across continents, deploying cyber legions capable of disrupting entire networks, and operating with a defense budget that's larger than the entire economy of most countries. Seriously, how in the world did that happen? Today, we're going to track the pivotal moments, the colossal blunders, and the sheer genius moves that transformed a loose collection of militias into what many consider the planet's most powerful war machine. It's a story of constant reinvention, born from necessity and forged in the crucible of conflict. Back in 1775, the Continental Congress was pretty much starting from scratch. They had absolutely zero tax base, no factories pumping out weapons, and let's be brutally honest, not a single clue how to actually run a unified army. It was chaos. What they did have, though, was the vast distance separating them from their oppressor, the precious commodity of time, and a stubborn, almost infuriating refusal to stay conquered. George Washington's real superpower wasn't just his battlefield brilliance. It was his sheer tenacity, his ability to somehow keep an unpaid, often shoeless force in the field long enough for crucial allies, like France, to finally jump into the fray. The core lesson learned here: survival, no matter how messy, often beats out perfection. This period also laid the crucial groundwork for civilian control over the military, a foundational principle that still holds strong today, ensuring the president, not a general, is the ultimate commander-in-chief. Then came the War of 1812. On paper, it looked like a bit of a draw, a messy affair with no clear winner. But beneath the surface, it forged 3 absolutely critical, lasting assets for the young nation. First, a genuinely professional officer corps started to emerge, battle-hardened and experienced on the tough Canadian frontier. Second, the nascent U.S. Navy proved definitively that well-built American frigates could outsail and outfight even the mighty ships of the line from the world's leading naval power. And third, a powerful national myth was born at places like Fort McHenry, inspiring citizens and rallying them behind the flag. By 1815, America still fielded relatively tiny armies. But the fundamental template was locked in. Citizen soldiers, fiercely patriotic, backed by a growing sea power. It was a humble beginning, but the seeds of something much bigger were sown. When President Polk set his sights on California, he wasn't just thinking about marching west. He was pioneering what we now call joint operations. Take General Winfield, Scott's landing at Veracruz during the Mexican-American War. That was the D-Day of its era, a massive amphibious assault involving 12,000 troops and 70 ships. From there, it was a grueling 200-mile slog through hostile territory all the way to Mexico City. That campaign, fraught with logistical nightmares, truly taught the young American Army how to plan and execute logistics on a continental scale. moving and supplying vast numbers of men and materiel far from home. It was a masterclass in operational art, paving the way for future large-scale expeditions. But nothing quite accelerated military evolution like the American Civil War. It doubled as a veritable tech expo, pushing innovation at an incredible pace. We saw rifled muskets that tripled the lethal range of infantry, fundamentally changing battlefield tactics. Rail networks weren't just for passengers. They became strategic assets, shuttling entire Army Corps overnight, enabling unprecedented mobility. And then there were the ironclads, those strange, armored beasts that made traditional wooden hulls instantly obsolete, forever changing naval warfare. Out of 4 years of unimaginable carnage and sacrifice, something new emerged: the first mass conscription system, a foundational blueprint for a modern general staff, and a signal corps that would eventually evolve into our sophisticated communications networks. More importantly, the Union victory preserved a unified continental base, a powerful, contiguous landmass that no future foe could possibly ignore. This secured America's internal strength, allowing it to project power outward in the decades to come. The Spanish-American War was a short affair, lasting barely 4 months. Yet, its geopolitical impact was enormous. Suddenly, the U.S. found itself with new territories like Guam, Puerto Rico, and the Philippines. This meant a new strategic reality. America had to patrol not 1, but 2 vast oceans. Building a fleet capable of that monumental job birthed the era of the big gun navy, majestic steel leviathans that could cruise thousands of miles without needing to refuel. These weren't just ships. They were symbols of America's burgeoning global ambition and its new ability to project power far beyond its shores. Then came World War I, which pushed the concept of mass production directly onto the battlefield. American factories didn't just churn out guns and ammunition. They produced an entirely new expeditionary mindset. Think about it. Sending 2 million men across an entire ocean, feeding them, fueling them, equipping them, and eventually bringing them home. It was an organizational and logistical feat on an unprecedented scale. The war also offered a terrifying glimpse into the future of conflict, chemical warfare, the lumbering tanks, and those flimsy early aircraft proved that the next major war would be fought in 3 dimensions: on land, in the air, and even beneath the earth. These were lessons us planners meticulously filed away, knowing they would need to adapt for what was coming next. The attack on Pearl Harbor shattered America's isolationism overnight, snapping the nation awake with a brutal shock. The response was nothing short of a logistics revolution, a truly astonishing display of industrial might. Henry Kaiser, a legendary industrialist, famously built a Liberty ship in just 4 days. Ford's Willow Run plant, a marvel of engineering, was spitting out a B-24 bomber every single hour. By 1944, the U.S. Navy was launching more new hulls than the combined fleets of every single Axis power. This wasn't just about building. It was about outproducing the enemy on a scale previously unimaginable, bringing America into the undisputed arsenal of democracy. D-Day, the largest amphibious invasion in history. showcased the incredible payoff of this industrial mobilization. Imagine 160,000 troops, supported by 5,000 ships and 11,000 aircraft, an almost unimaginable combined arms assault. It was a symphony of planning, coordination, and sheer human courage. And just 3 months after that, 2 atomic bombs brought the Pacific War to a swift, terrifying end. This not only concluded the deadliest conflict in human history, but also gifted Washington a temporary, yet absolute, monopoly on the ultimate trump card. For the very first time, American power wasn't just spanning factories and fleets. It was harnessing the fundamental forces of physics itself. It was a new era defined by unprecedented destructive capability and a new kind of global responsibility. Stalin's tanks famously never rolled past Checkpoint Charlie into Western Europe. But the very threat of them forced Washington to maintain 500,000 troops forward deployed for 4 straight decades. It was a constant, tense standoff, a war of nerves. The Korean War proved that jet aircraft absolutely ruled the skies, forever changing air combat. A decade later, Vietnam tragically demonstrated that while helicopters might rule the jungle, sheer firepower alone, no matter how overwhelming, simply cannot win hearts and minds. These were painful, expensive lessons. So, the Pentagon strategically pivoted, focusing on massive technological leaps to gain an edge. We saw the rise of nuclear submarines that could lurk silently beneath the waves for months, virtually undetectable. Intercontinental ballistic missiles, ICBMs, emerged, capable of striking targets halfway across the world in just 30 minutes. A CRE, the chilling doctrine of mutually assured destruction. And spy satellites began to orbit the Earth, sophisticated enough to reportedly read license plates from space, providing an unparalleled intelligence advantage. Interestingly, DARPA's side hustles, things like miniaturized circuits and packet switching networks, were quietly seeding the digital revolution. These innovations, initially designed for military use, eventually transformed civilian life. By the time the Berlin Wall finally fell, America had already secured its dominance over the next crucial battlefield, information itself. Desert Storm looked almost deceptively easy, a swift, decisive victory with barely 100 hours of ground combat. But the real story wasn't just the brevity. It was the groundbreaking marriage of GPS technology and precision-guided bombs. For the first time in history, a single aircraft could, theoretically, do the work of 1,000 B-17s, delivering ordnance with pinpoint accuracy. The world watched, mesmerized, as real-time footage showed smart weapons threading air shafts and destroying targets with surgical precision. It was a true revolution in military affairs, showcasing a new era of dominance. Then came 9/11s, flipping the script entirely. Suddenly, the enemy wasn't a conventional army. They hid in caves, communicated in chat rooms, and blended into civilian populations. The military had to adapt at lightning speed, spinning up specialized special operations task forces, building biometric databases to identify threats, and deploying swarms of drones for surveillance and targeted strikes. It became a constant game of cat and mouse. Insurgents learned to make improvised explosive devices, IEDs, from seemingly innocuous items like garage door openers. Engineers countered with sophisticated jamming pods and heavily armored MRAP trucks. Each side relentlessly hacked the other's tech, pushing the boundaries of warfare. This constant rapid-fire innovation eventually led us to today's complex contest in cyberspace, where the lines between peace and war blur with every keystroke. Today, the global landscape has shifted once again. Beijing is launching hypersonic gliders that defy traditional defenses, and Moscow is fielding cruise missiles that can fly 3,000 kilometers under the radar. The response from the US is a tech sprint straight out of a science fiction novel. We're seeing AI that can predict maintenance needs before a tank even thinks about breaking down, saving critical time and resources. Directed energy pods are being developed to zap incoming drones for mere dollars a shot, offering a cost-effective defense against swarms. And vast satellite constellations are being designed to reroute themselves instantly after a jamming strike, ensuring continuous communication and surveillance. Budgets now clearly reflect this monumental shift. Every single branch of the military is pouring cash into developing sophisticated cyber commands, building robust space wings, and designing autonomous hulls that can sail the oceans without a single human captain aboard. The goal isn't just to be ready to fight. It's to deter potential adversaries by signaling loud and clear. Whatever new technology you invent, whatever new tactic you devise, we've already countered it, so try us at your peril. It's about maintaining a qualitative edge, ensuring that America remains several steps ahead in an increasingly complex and competitive world. If you've got a real charge out of this whirlwind tour through military history, do us a solid and whack that subscribe button. We've got more deep dives on decks every single week. And hey, did we miss a crucial turning point? A moment that you think truly defined America's military journey? Drop it in the comments below. The best ones always get pinned. From those threadbare rebels who shivered and froze at Valley Forge to the sophisticated space warriors who can now shut down entire grids from orbit. America's military wasn't born super. Far from it. It was upgraded, piece by painful piece, in crisis after crisis, through conflict after conflict. Each war, in a way, served as a brutal beta test for the next, forcing continuous, often rapid, evolution. The ultimate takeaway from this incredible journey: the strongest military force in history isn't just built on massive budgets or devastating bombs. It's built, fundamentally, on the enduring habit of learning faster, adapting quicker, and innovating more relentlessly than anybody else. As long as that crucial habit endures, the next seemingly impossible fight is just another milestone waiting to happen for America's armed forces.